The police pull you over and detain you for DUI. When you are being taken to the station, they don't tell you about your Miranda rights and casually ask you, "How much have you had to drink?" To which you casually replied, "Oh, I only had 3 shots of vodka." This is a clear violation of your Miranda rights. The latest incident in the Philippines, in which cops killed a 17-year-old in a protest mistaken as suspect. This is infuriating. The Navotas police chief admitted that cops made the wrong decision to open fire while pursuing the wrong suspect on August 2nd, 2023. No verbal warnings were given, contrary to PNP regulations. Jerhod Jemboy Baltazar, a 17-year-old kid, was shot and killed by a Navotas police officer as he boarded a boat. The police were looking for suspects of a shooting incident in Barangay NBBS Kaunlaran on August 2nd, 2023. The suspect fled, and during the ensuing investigation, police received information that the suspect may have been on a boat. When police arrived at the scene, they saw Baltazar and his friend's boat. Police then shot and killed Baltazar. The 17-year-old kid was not the suspect police were looking for. According to the forensic pathologist, Dr. Raquel Fortune, the autopsy revealed that Jemboy was shot twice, once on the head with an entry wound behind the ear and an exit wound on the nose, and once on the right hand. Further on, she stated that Jemboy was not able to make it due to a brain injury from the gunshot wound coupled with drowning. It took 3 hours before Jemboy's lifeless body was recovered. There is an ongoing discussion about the PNP rules that these cops violated. First is Rule 6.2, which encourages the use of megaphones and other similar tools during actual law enforcement operations. This is to warn or influence the offender or suspect to stop and or peacefully give up. Rule 6.3 clearly prohibits the use of warning shots. Furthermore, Rule 7.2 stipulates specifically that the police officer must first issue a verbal warning before he could use force against an offender. In this incident, they fired rounds, which is against their own policy, prohibiting the use of warning shots. These cops even claimed they fired rounds in order to scare the victim. Huh, unbelievable. Going back to Miranda rights. The concept of Miranda rights was enshrined in U.S. law following the 1966 Miranda versus Arizona Supreme Court decision, which found that the Fifth and Sixth Amendment rights of Ernesto Arturo Miranda had been violated during his arrest and trial for armed robbery, kidnapping, and rape of a young woman. The Sixth Amendment guarantees the rights of criminal defendants, including the right to a public trial without unnecessary delay, the right to a lawyer, the right to an impartial jury, and the right to know who your accusers are and the nature of the charges and evidence against you. The Fifth Amendment's privilege against self incrimination protects witnesses from forced self incrimination. Miranda was apprehended at his residence and taken into custody after being identified by the complaining witness at a police station. Ernesto Miranda was identified as a suspect based on a partial plate number. Mr. Miranda was detained and taken to the police station on March 30, 1963. Officers put Mr. Miranda in a lineup, but the woman he kidnapped and attacked couldn't absolutely identify him as her attacker. He was then grilled for 2 hours by two police officers, resulting in a signed written confession. The jury had access to both the oral and written admissions during the trial. Miranda was convicted of kidnapping and rape and sentenced to 20 to 30 years in jail on both counts. June 27, 1963 is the date when Ernesto Arturo Miranda was convicted and sentenced to two concurrent terms of 20 to 30 years imprisonment. However, the argument raised by Alvin Moore, Ernesto Miranda's attorney, concerning the confession sparked a legal maelstrom. On June 13, 1966, Chief Justice Earl Warren, speaking for a 5-4 majority, issued explicit standards on what is and is not acceptable in the interrogation room for the first time. Prior to any questioning, the person must be warned that he has a right to remain silent, that any statement he does or make may be used as evidence against him, and that he has a right to the presence of an attorney, either retained or appointed. The cops who grilled Miranda into confessing to the crime did not advise him of his rights. His confession was deemed not admissible as evidence against him in the court of law. The Supreme Court overturned Miranda's conviction on June 13, 1966, in its ruling for Miranda versus Arizona, which established guidelines for how detained suspects are informed of their constitutional rights. The decision consolidated three other cases that dealt with related issues: California versus Stewart, Pinera versus New York, and Westover versus United States. While Miranda's Supreme Court case changed the course of U.S. criminal procedure, Miranda's own fate would not be so changed. Arizona retried Miranda. Miranda launched a custody battle with his common law wife, Twyla Hoffman, for their daughter, expecting to be released following retrial. Hoffman approached the authorities outraged and terrified and disclosed the contents of a discussion she had with Miranda after his incarceration, during which she admitted to the rape. Miranda's second trial got underway on February 15, 1967. Much of the argument took place in the judge's chambers. The question is whether a common law wife can testify against her husband. Yes, County Attorney Robert Corbin confirmed. Defense attorney John Flynn, who had argued Miranda's case before the Supreme Court, was vehemently opposed. Judge Lawrence K. Wren declared such evidence admissible after much legal debate, and Twyla Hoffman was allowed to deliver her tale to the jury. It was decisive. Miranda was found guilty again and sentenced to 20 to 30 years in prison. This new evidence was all Arizona required. Ernesto Miranda was released from prison. But what happened to him? Ernesto Miranda was sadly stabbed to death in a Phoenix bar fight on January 31, 1976, 4 years after being released from prison. The assassin fled, but his accomplice was apprehended. Before transporting the defendant to police headquarters, the arresting officers told him his rights. In police jargon, he had been Mirandized. The Miranda warning is created 52 years ago today.